All right, I was trying to do this in one take, but I've actually had to start over so many times because I just cannot stop from doing dumb shit. All right, so every couple of weeks on Reddit, you'll see a post, usually just somehow making fun of League of Legends and how the community is so toxic. And it's a topic I've wanted to talk about for a while because it's something I don't agree with in the slightest. Like, I don't think this game is any worse than any other game out there. In fact, I'd say it's better than most of the games I played growing up. Before League, I played a lot of Counter-Strike and Call of Duty, and those games were just so much worse than League ever has been for me. And then a topic I also want to talk about a little bit is Smurfs and how they're ruining the new player experience, which is something I can see why people feel that way. I can see how it could be very true in most cases, but I don't think Smurfs have to all be classified as that. As somebody who's leveled up 3 accounts now, I've had different experiences leveling them all, and I'd like to think that for the most part, they were all very positive experiences. So account number one is my main account, which is KillTheKoolAid. I started leveling this in late 2012, early 2013, something like that. Because I started playing it freshman year of college. Uh, my first time with MOBAs, first time with League. Never really got any notable experiences of toxicity. I remember a few situations where you just while you're leveling, you take a champion into a lane they don't normally go into, or just you do weird builds, stuff like that. But I believe since the game kind of put me with other people who were theoretically learning the game, it didn't do much. Like it didn't match me with Smurfs. It didn't match me with players who were playing a lot. The only time I was with players who played a lot was when I was playing with my friends, and I feel like when I'm playing with my friends, the toxicity that the other team could do is irrelevant because I'm just having a good time with my friends. So my initial time leveling up this account or leveling up a account for the first time was a neutral to positive experience. Account number two was pretty interesting because there was this weird time in I want to say 2015 or something, before the Riot servers got moved. I think to Chicago is where they are now, and they were instead in California. So me playing in the northern Midwest, either at my home or at school, I had about 90 ping normally. I want to say 90 was around normal, depending on what internet I had and whatnot. But if I connected to the Latin America North servers, I was able to get 20 ping or something like that, some insanely low ping, especially compared to what I was playing on. So, wanting to see what this is like, I made an account on Latin America North, and my thought process was that I mostly wanted to play AD carry in this account. On my other account, it was a support main, and I kind of wanted to try an AD carry only thing. And I had already, leveled up my main account. I've been playing on it for a while. I don't know if I had reached Diamond for the first time in 2015. I don't really remember. But, obviously, like I said, my intention wasn't to make this account and stomp kids. So that wasn't an issue. But because I had made a new account, I got the survey again. And I'm pretty sure on this survey that I said I was pretty experienced with MOBAs. And during this time, too, there were a couple people who would move to the Latin America servers to farm challenger rewards. They would transfer their accounts over because, a lot of people would be like, oh, Diamond in NA can be challenger in Latin America. But that wasn't really relevant to me. I did not believe I was at that level. And so I didn't do that. And that's also why I had to make a new account, because I couldn't afford that transfer back then. That was just a waste of money for me when I could just make a new account for free. So I did that, and my experience overall was mostly neutral because there was actually a language barrier in that I only spoke English. And, I mean, I took a different language in high school, but let's be honest, I didn't retain a darn thing. So yeah, I only spoke English, and so there was a language barrier between me and the majority of the players in the server, which means that the only time I ever really understood what they were saying was when they were cursing at me, or not even sorry at me, but just cursing at the game. But it wasn't even ever that bad. It was mostly just saying words like shit, which have become apparently universal. So I didn't really pay attention to chat logs that much, and there were never people playing poorly on purpose. Like there was never like any troll in that sense, and so there's not a lot of trolling. And if there was toxicity, I couldn't see it, so I might as well have had everyone muted, even though I didn't actually do that. So the toxicity here was never really like directed at me. Another reason for that was that I didn't type in the chat, and the only time you ever really saw people speak up and be blatantly toxic were when like an English speaker would type something in English, and everyone, not even everyone, just a couple people would like get on them like, oh, stupid American, something like that. Or there are some weird times when you would get it the other way too, where somebody would type something in like Spanish and like an English speaker would attack them, which made no sense to me. So whenever I saw that, I usually just laughed because that's just stupid. Like that's just a stupid thing to do to come out of their server and like expect them to speak English. That's just weird. But overall, because I didn't really type in chat that much, those were never really directed at me. And so I would say my leveling experience on this account was probably neutral. My third account, which is this one, which is Arborphile, was one of the more interesting times leveling up. For one, I was willing to spend money, and so I bought XP boosts through the store just to like speed up the whole process, because I had the goal in mind to make an Ivern only account, and the less time I spent in custom, or not in custom, but just co-op versus AI, and the less time I spent in low-level normal games was better. I wanted to be as close to 30 as possible, then I wanted to get into ranked as soon as possible. I have a lot of experience with the game at this point, and so I bought the XP boost and went through it and leveled it up to 30. This account was also interesting because obviously it's my Ivern only account, and not even necessarily Ivern only, but like tree only was kind of the joke I made. So Ivern and Maokai are like my top two picks, and because I picked Ivern, occasionally you would see someone like say something about that, because at this point too I had chosen again that I had a lot of experience in MOBAs during the survey, so I feel like the game was more willing to match me with other Smurfs. And so every now and then I'd pick Ivern, and there'd be people in game in lobby, my team, enemy team, who are like, oh, I haven't seen Ivern in forever, ha ha ha. And just like forgetting how Ivern works, and sometimes they'd say stuff about that and whatnot, but that's not really the topic here. But occasionally you would get weird people who were extremely toxic. Like, I'll admit that. Some people were extremely toxic. Like, I had one person attack me personally, saying things like, hey, I should stop talking to me, that I should stop playing this game because clearly it isn't for me. I didn't really say much to this guy. Obviously, nobody knows who I am, so it's like he didn't know I've been playing this game at a mid to mid-high level for years now. And so like occasionally you get stuff like that, which again, it's just in a low-level normal game to call somebody out and be like, man, this isn't for you, doesn't really make sense, because it's like we're all here learning, in theory. Like if I'm not a Smurf, I'm here learning the game, so it just doesn't make sense to me to like talk shit to those players. But some people find the need to because they're frustrated, I guess. But one thing I did notice while leveling is that if you came across a toxic player, they were almost always a Smurf. Like, you never came across somebody who doesn't know the game and is angry. Like, they have to know the game to be angry at you. So, like, occasionally you get people who just don't understand certain game mechanics. Like, I got a guy in an ARAM one time who he didn't get mad, but he just kind of like typed a little message to me because I re-rolled a champion he wanted to play. But he could still have picked it if he wanted to, but he just didn't understand that. He didn't like flame or anything in game. Like once we got in game, the conversation was over, but it was just funny to me that he didn't know. So yeah, the game has a system to match Smurfs with other Smurfs, and I feel like it worked because this time I had the most noticeable Smurfs. And by noticeable, I mean it's the people whose names had something to do with the league champ, kind of like mine, or they had just a straight, I always describe them as like a 14-year-old Xbox name. Like Mike Hawk is one I saw in one of the clips I showed here with Varys. But it was never like the players who were doing really well who were being toxic either. Like especially in the Cold vs. AI, my thought process was always to get through the game as fast as possible. And so, you go like 20-0, whatever, just killing bots over and over again to end the game. And then even once you got into normals, it wasn't the players who were popping off that were toxic. Like, you're not going to see the 20-0 guy being like, oh, you guys are so bad, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, usually they're, at that point, just having fun. Like, they're killing people, or eventually they get killed because they want to go for the penta, or they want to go for a double, triple kill, whatever. And so it was always those players, and it was always the ones who were kind of feeding that were getting angry. Like, they'd be like 2-5, and like, oh man, you guys are so bad at this game, and that's why I'm 2-5. It has nothing to do with me, blah, 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 blah. And so what you'll see a lot with these Smurfs, and I have a couple of clips to show this too, is they just like spam pings. And this is like the most annoying to me because I don't know if the game can detect it that well, but they just spam pings, and it's annoying to have to mute pings because it's the simplest form of communication in the game. Like, you can be effective with just pings, and people are just wasting the ping, spamming question mark on every little thing you do, which, besides being just annoying for you, because it's on top of you, it's also just annoying to everybody, so I don't really know what it's supposed to accomplish, but I guess if they get their anger out, that's something. But the good thing about League of Legends is that you can mute specific things. So if they're typing and being a total jerk, you just mute them. If they're spam pinging, you can mute their pings. Emotes I only mute if I'm tilted up, if I'm being honest. Emotes don't bother me normally, but if I'm tilted, they gotta go. So yeah, the weird thing too is that these players, like, I've got 2 in these clips that I looked up just to see what happened to those accounts, because when I got out, I reported them. And in both cases, either they stopped playing on those accounts before they hit 30, or they got banned or something, and someone else grabbed the name, because when I looked them up, neither of them was level 30, and neither of them were even like that close, and these games were months ago. And I feel like if you're a Smurf, you should be able to hit 30 relatively fast, either by buying XP boosts or, just playing a lot. So while leveling this third account, did we figure out if Smurfs were ruining games? The answer is yeah, there are Smurfs out there ruining games, but it's not all of them. You usually got like 2 cases where it's either you're silent as a Smurf and just playing the game, doing your best to win or just end the game, whatever. Or you got the people who need, not necessarily could, but just need to go 20-0 to not flame. If they die once, they're unleashed. They're just going to tell you every single bad thing you've ever done in your entire life, that they totally understand and know everything about you, and they need to flame you for it. But the good thing is that I think Riot has a pretty good system in terms of how to deal with these players, like just on your own. Like, I wish their systems to like chat restrict or suspend or ban an account was a bit more effective. But for what you can do in game, being able to mute the chat, being able to mute pings, even being able to mute emotes, even though, like I said, I don't like doing that unless I'm tilted. Like, the systems are there, and I think they do a pretty good job. But I definitely would agree Riot could do more in just terms of punishing clearly toxic players. Like there's some out there that they're clearly toxic, but I don't know. It's just a topic I always wanted to bring up because, like I said, on Reddit you'll see it every now and then that League is so toxic. Even on the League subreddit, it's like, oh man, this game is so toxic. But it's not League. It's kind of just multiplayer games in general, especially those with any sort of competitive aspect. Like, I've played Counter-Strike 1.6. I went pretty deep in that, going on like forums and whatnot. Came across some toxic people, in-game, out-of-game. Played Call of Duty, which is pretty much famous for its toxic voice chat. So yeah, all communities just kind of have their own issues. People, I don't know, they like to look back with not fond memories on games they've stopped playing for whatever reason. But I don't think League is its own special kind of toxic. I think multiplayer games are their own special kind of toxic. So yeah, I was gonna do this in one take, couldn't do it. So thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Alright, so one of the reasons why this video took so long is that I might have been working on something else that was completely irrelevant to League of Legends. However, Arborphile has now successfully gotten into Platinum. We have reached Platinum. I think we failed our promos just twice and got in on the third try. The account is currently 61 and 43, which is a 58.6% win ratio on Ivern. It is also 2 and 1 on Maokai for a 66% win ratio.